Okay, kitsiikaisokaanii. This is going to be my 5th installment for my Blackfoot winter phrase book project. And those of you who may be unfamiliar with this project can go to my YouTube channel. There's a playlist called Blackfoot Language, and the third video in there is called Blackfoot Language Phrasebook. It'll give you the whole spiel. But as a kind of a clean cut, straight to the point definition of what it is that I'm doing, I like to spend my winter trying to boost my language ability. It's one of my winter projects, and so I learn phrases and I learn the grammar behind those phrases. And this winter I will be video recording that effort and sharing it with you. I'm going to fill this blank book full of Blackfoot phrases and the grammar that goes with it. So, moving on to my 5th installment, which is building upon the former installments. So if you need to, you can go back, although you should be able to jump in any time and kind of keep pace with what's going on. If you're able to have a little bit of flexibility in what you're able to accept as knowledge that you don't have. Anyway, last time we ended off with the intransitive form of the verb to say. And in Blackfoot, you know, we've covered 2 versions of this already. We've covered a kind of a conversational version, a transitive version, sitsipssat, which is to converse, to tell someone. We've also talked about awaaniiwa, which is a transitive animate form to tell someone, but is less conversational. It can be to say to, I said this to him. But there's not really the conversational aspect. There's also just a speaking, right, which is going to be niitsi'powahsin and niitsi'powahsin, the intransitive and the transitive forms. We'll get to that, perhaps. We're just wandering through the language at this point, but I want to let you know that there's more ways of speaking about the act of speaking than what we're covering at this point. So, awaaniiwa, to say, and I think at the last installment, at the end of the 4th, I noted that there's a lot of new or second language Blackfoot learners who are saying awaaniiwa at grammatically incorrect times. Awaaniiwa means he said, or not he said, but he says, and she says, because remember there's no grammar built into the language like there is in English, so it's just a third person singular, says. He or she says, or he or she is saying. The whole point of the of the awaaniiwa is to note that it's happening currently. So she's saying or she says, he's saying or he says, awaaniiwa. Now people are using that in other kind of contexts. They're using it as we used to say, or we currently say, or you all say, or whatever. They're just using, you know, so and so, awaaniiwa, blah blah blah, and they mean that that person said this or says this, but they could learn more of the grammar. It wouldn't be a harmful thing. So, so let's move forward with that and say that let's use the past tense. We had the current tense, awaaniiwa, which is he or she is saying. You could also say he or she said, and that would just be awaaniiwa, which is the past tense for third person singular. You could also use let's use the durative, the current present tense of third person plural not doing it. So they're not saying, They're not saying. Maatawaaniiyo'p. Maatawaaniiyo'p. They're not saying. And that just uses some of the tools that we've learned in the previous installments. Maatawaaniiyo'p. So, moving on with this paradigm that we've been learning, like how to conjugate in the very basic form, which it's called, in linguistics, it's called the independent form. How to conjugate intransitive verbs in Blackfoot. We've learned first person singular, second person singular, third person singular, third person plural. Now we need first person plural, second person plural. So like we and you all. And in Blackfoot it's interesting because, well, we'll get into this right now. First person plural. If you're going to be doing intransitive verb, if you're going to conjugate an intransitive verb stem in the first person plural form, you're going to use nit as your prefix, just like with first person singular, but then as your suffix, you're going to use spinnan. And that's to say we are doing something. So in this case, if the verb is waanii, if I say nitaaniihpinnaana, we said, you know, we said ... whatever. But that we is actually a very peculiar kind of we. It's not the same kind of we. When I say in English we, I could mean we, like I could be talking about my family and I could say we're going to Florida. You know, we could mean us but not you. On the other hand, in English I could say, you know what, kid, we're gonna go somewhere. And I could mean you and me and perhaps some other people. So there's an inclusive we and an exclusive we that's just us but not you, right? In Blackfoot, those two different kinds of we's are encoded in the language. So if I say nitaaniihpinnaana, we will say nitaaniihpinnaana, and I use that first person plural form. I'm saying we are going to say, or we'll say, whatever, ... but not you. We'll, not you. It's an exclusive form, right? If I want to use the inclusive form, that is just a suffix op. Doesn't have the prefix nit at the beginning. It's just a suffix op. So for instance, if I say we say whatever, we say ... or sorry, we don't say ... maatawaaniiyo'p. Maat being the negative, the durative, is ongoing, waanii, to say, and op means we, you included. So maatawaaniiyo'p, we don't say whatever, you know. So there's the inclusive and the exclusive, and just to give it like a exact comparison, unlike what's in my notebook, nitaaniihpinnaana, we said whatever, ... awaaniiyo'p, we said ... whatever. Nitaaniihpinnaana is we, but not you. Awaaniiyo'p is we, you included. Might just be me and you, might be me, you, and several other people. Awaaniiyo'p. So, and then second person plural, is the prefix git and the suffix boa. So if I say kitaaniihpoaawa, it means you all said. And that's the kind of thing, like in English, if I say you said, I could mean you singular, like just you said, or I could mean you said, and I could be referring to your whole organization, whatever it is, whatever broader category you stand for as a you. In English, that's included. In Blackfoot, you as an individual is tagged with that prefix git. And that's all, nothing else. So we know if we're talking about you as an individual. If I'm talking about you all, then it's niitsi'powahsin. Or sorry, from your perspective, niitsi'powahsin. So, kitaaniihpoaawa. You all said. Maatawaaniiyo'p. We covered that. We, inclusive, say. I've added a little phrase here in this installment that is going to include a couple of tweaks that we haven't had yet, and it's just a fun phrase to learn to say as a compliment to somebody else. If you know somebody is trying to speak Blackfoot and you want to compliment them, you might say kitsiikaisokaanii, kitsiikaisokaanii, kitsiikaisokaanii. And that means you talk really well. You talk very well. So that uses that prefix ik, kitsiik, you, very. Ik is very, right? It's like more intense. Ik. Kitsiik, that is part of that figurative prefix, like it's happening right now, right? That soak, kitasok, kitsiikaisokaanii. Soak. Soak is good. Like sokapi, it's good. Sokapi. So kitsiikaisokaanii. That comes from awaaniiwa. So kitsiikaisokaanii. You talk very well. That's just a nice thing to say to somebody. Moving on, almost at the end of this installment, I promised that I would use that I would talk about frame shifting, right? Which is a way of learning language where you have a sentence that is incomplete. It's like an algebra problem. You have part of the sentence and then there's a blank spot. We're going to go toward, in this case, the lesson today, we're going to go toward something. Meaning, like, I'm going to go to the store, I'm going to go to the bank, I'm going to go to the gas station, I'm going to go down to the river, I'm going to go to so-and-so's house, we're going to go wherever, right? So in Blackfoot, that verb go is u. But when you say go toward, it's itap. Hey. Itapu. Itapu. So if we use that conjugation that we learned for first person plural, for we exclusive, we but not you, we're going to go to, it would be Niitsi'powahsin, or future. We are going to go to, that's a future tense, so we got to use that ak too, right? Nitaaniihpinnaana. We're going to go to. So, nitaaniihpinnaana, we're going to go to where? And that's the frame. right? The frame we create, and then we can learn some different like vocabulary words to fit into that frame. So for today, for this installment, I'm going to say itohpomap. We're going to go to where we buy things. And that we is actually not just we exclusive, that we is everybody. But we'll talk about that structure of that later, because the other things that we're going to fit into that frame are going to follow the same pattern grammatically of itohpomap, where we buy things, the store. So we'll get into that, but for just this installment, where we buy things. We're going to go to where we buy things.